My name's Jordan, I'm 32, and I used to believe that family, no matter how flawed, would eventually come around, that deep down, they cared. Maybe they just didn't know how to show it. That belief used to be my anchor. But on my birthday this year, it finally sank for good. It started that morning. I wasn't expecting fireworks or a grand gesture, not even a gift. But a text, maybe a call, something to say, "Hey, we're thinking of you." Just something small to hold on to. Instead, I got a voicemail. My phone buzzed as I was making coffee, and I saw the little icon. I didn't recognize the number, but I hit play, wondering if maybe it was mom calling from work or something. What I heard chilled me more than I care to admit. It was my mother's voice, unmistakably smug, casual, like she was talking about the weather. "Jordan, don't expect a call today. We're busy celebrating real family. You should understand that by now." That was it. No goodbye, no explanation, no hesitation. Just a flat dismissal wrapped in years of resentment and served cold on my birthday. I didn't move for a long time. Just stood there, coffee growing cold in my hand, replaying those words in my head. Real family. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. Maybe she was drunk or joking, but I knew better. I'd seen this coming in fragments for years, like a slow drip from a ceiling you pretend isn't leaking until the whole thing caves in. Let me rewind for a second. Growing up, I was always the responsible one. Not the favorite, not the golden child. That was my younger brother, Mason. I was the one who made sure the bills were paid when mom lost her job, who skipped college parties to work extra shifts so we wouldn't lose the house after dad left. While Mason dropped out of college to find himself in Mexico, party with his girlfriend, I took over dad's old delivery route to cover the mortgage mom couldn't handle on her own. Eventually, I got a decent job in IT, moved into a small apartment downtown, and built a stable, quiet life. I stayed close by, too close, probably, and helped whenever she asked. Paid for her car to get fixed last winter. Co-signed a credit card. Even added her to a joint bank account when she said her Social Security payments were getting delayed. At the time, I didn't think twice about it. Family helps family, right? But in the last 2 years, something shifted. Calls got shorter. Texts unanswered. Invitations to family dinners stopped. At first, it was little things, being left off a group photo, finding out through Facebook that Mason had gotten engaged. Then last Thanksgiving, mom forgot to tell me they'd changed the venue. When I called, she answered with, "Oh, I didn't think you'd want to come. You're always so busy." Busy? I'd spent 3 hours baking a stupid pecan pie. Still, I kept showing up, kept hoping, kept trying. So yeah, that voicemail hit different. Not because it was the first slap, but because it was the last one I was willing to take. I didn't cry. I didn't call back. I didn't even delete the message. I just sat on the couch, stared at the ceiling, and thought. Thought about all the money I'd lent. No, given, with no thanks. Thought about how Mason had once crashed my car during a test drive and laughed it off. Thought about how mom had once told her friend, right in front of me, "Mason may not be successful, but at least he's fun." Thought about all the times I let them minimize me, shrink me, erase me. And then, I thought about the joint account. She'd asked me to add her a year ago when she said she couldn't open one alone due to bad credit. I'd meant to remove her, honestly. It was on my to-do list, right under get new tires and buy more paper towels. But I never did. And, apparently, she'd forgotten too. I logged in, and there it was. The account had nearly $14,000 in it, mostly from a tax return I'd deposited last month, planning to move it later, but never got around to. I checked the transactions. Mason had used the card at an electronics store 3 days ago. My mother had paid for brunch at a place downtown I'd never even been invited to. There was even a payment scheduled to go toward a vacation rental in Maui. In Mason's name. I stared at that screen for a long time. I wasn't angry. I was hollow. Like all the anger had already burned out, and now there was just ash. Quiet, weightless ash. I clicked transfer. Emptied the entire account into my private one. Then I called the bank and had the joint account closed. Permanently. No hesitation. No warning. Then I remembered the car. A year ago, when her old Toyota broke down, I'd given her the spare car I'd inherited from my uncle, a dusty but solid Honda Accord, still in my name because I never got around to the DMV paperwork. She'd promised to transfer it eventually, said it was just paperwork. Classic mom. I grabbed the title from my filing cabinet. Called a buyer I knew from Craigslist. He picked it up that evening, cash in hand. Mom was out, apparently, because she didn't notice it was gone until the next morning. But I wasn't done. There was one more thing. The house. It wasn't hers. Not legally. It used to belong to my grandparents. But after Grandpa passed and Grandma moved to assisted living, it was left to me in the will. Mom got to stay, with my blessing, rent-free. The only condition? Pay the property taxes and keep it clean. Instead, she let Mason move in with his girlfriend, wreck the basement with his music studio, and treated it like her personal kingdom. She never even thanked me. Never even acknowledged it was mine. In fact, last month, Mason had the nerve to tell me, "We're thinking of redoing the kitchen. Don't worry, we'll let you know when it's done." Let me know. So I went into my files, pulled out the lease agreement I drafted but never sent, called my lawyer friend, spent an hour drafting a formal notice of eviction, printed it, signed it, slid it into an envelope with a little bow, and left it in their mailbox the next morning. I didn't text her, didn't warn her, didn't explain. I just gave her what she gave me, silence. And as I walked away from that house, watching the morning sun rise over the familiar cracked driveway I used to skateboard on as a kid, I felt something shift. Not satisfaction, not victory, freedom. But that was just the start. By the time the eviction notice landed in her mailbox, I'd already blocked her number. I wasn't trying to be theatrical about it. I just didn't want to hear the inevitable voicemail. I knew what it would be, the high-pitched panic, the sudden motherly concern, the gaslighting guilt trip wrapped in confusion. "Jordan, what is this? Why would you do this to us? After all we've been through." As if I was the one throwing the knife, not just removing it from my back. Instead, I kept my phone on silent, logged out of social media, and focused on packing for the weekend trip I'd booked for myself. Nothing fancy, just a quiet Airbnb upstate, surrounded by woods, where I could sit with my thoughts and maybe figure out who I was without the constant weight of being the reliable one. But they didn't wait long. By 10 a.m., I had 6 missed calls from Mason, 5 from Mom, on a different number, and 2 from no caller ID, which I was almost certain was her using a work phone. I didn't pick up any of them. I made coffee, checked my email, fed my cat, and read a book. I'd never felt more in control. Around noon, I got a knock on my apartment door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I live in a quiet building with an even quieter hallway. When I opened the door, there stood Mason, shirt half wrinkled, jaw tight, pacing like a caged animal. "You emptied the account," he barked. No greeting, no "hey, happy birthday," just pure entitled disbelief. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Yup. You sold the car? That's Mom's car." "Nope," I said calmly. "It was mine. In my name. Just like the house." His face turned crimson. "You're being a..." "Careful," I interrupted. "Finish that sentence, and I close this door." He took a breath, like he was trying to decide if I was bluffing. I wasn't. "You can't do this to us," he hissed. "You're just mad because Mom didn't call you." "No, Mason. I'm mad because you and Mom treat me like an ATM with a heartbeat." He blinked. I don't think he was used to me pushing back. For years, I played the quiet, dependable brother. The fixer. The cleaner-upper. He was seeing someone new now. Someone who didn't ask for permission to draw the line. Then came the real kicker. He actually said, "She didn't mean that message. She was just venting." It was a joke. My laugh caught him off guard. "So was the eviction notice," I said. "Hope she finds it funny when the sheriff shows up in 30 days. Mason stepped forward, but I raised a hand. "Don't. Try. Me." And for once, he didn't. He turned around, muttering something about overreacting and "you'll regret this," and stormed back toward the elevator. I watched him go, heart racing, but steady. That afternoon, I got a string of texts. First from Mason. "You just destroyed this family. Don't think we'll forget this. Hope your precious cat keeps you warm when you're old and alone." Then came the ones from Mom. Each one a different flavor of manipulation. "You're tearing this family apart. I didn't raise you to be cruel. What happened to my sweet boy? I'll give you the money back. Just reverse the eviction. This isn't you." But it was. This was finally me. For the first time, I wasn't the doormat. I wasn't the less fun sibling. I wasn't the emergency contact, the silent donor, the background character in their chaos. I was the guy who stopped apologizing for existing. The next day, my lawyer friend called. She left a voicemail, she said. "Sounds like she wants to contest the eviction." "Can she?" I asked. No, she has no legal claim to the house. You've covered yourself. She's just flailing. I thanked her and hung up. Then I got a knock at my door. Again. This time, it wasn't Mason. It was my aunt. Aunt Deb has always been the Switzerland of the family. Neutral, smiling, slightly clueless, but never intentionally cruel. She came holding a Tupperware of lemon bars like she was making peace in a suburban war zone. "Can I come in?" she asked. I hesitated, but then I saw the worry in her eyes. Not performative, not judgmental, real concern. She sat on the couch like it was holy ground. "Jordan," she's spiraling. "She had years to treat me like a son, Deb." "I know," she said. "And she was wrong. You've always been there. Always. We all saw it. Then why didn't anyone say anything?" Her silence was answer enough. "She's scared," she finally whispered. "She doesn't know how to be without you." I nodded. Neither did I. But now I do. Deb left shortly after. She didn't ask me to undo anything. She just gave me a hug and said, "I hope you sleep well tonight." I did. The days that followed were chaos for them. Mason tried to go online and blast me with a Facebook rant that started with my brother just evicted our mother on his birthday. But he forgot that I had receipts, texts, photos, screenshots. I didn't even have to post them. My friends and coworkers backed me up before I even saw the post. One of my old college roommates commented, "Imagine being so ungrateful to the person keeping the lights on. Y'all deserve to be homeless." That comment got the most likes. Eventually, the post disappeared. 3 weeks later, I got a letter. A formal apology, typed, signed, from my mother. But I'm not going to spoil what it said yet. Because what happened on move-out day? That's when everything truly unraveled. Move-out day arrived on a cloudy Tuesday morning. I didn't go over there. I couldn't. My lawyer said I didn't need to, that the paperwork was airtight, the sheriff's office had scheduled the formal notice, and if my mother and Mason didn't comply, they'd be forcibly removed by the end of the week. Still, I tracked the time like a nervous clockmaker. 9 a.m., they were supposed to be out. By 9:17, my phone buzzed. A photo. It was from my neighbor across the street, Mr. Kindle, a retired postal worker who'd always nodded politely when I mowed the lawn during my visits. The photo showed my mother standing on the front porch in a robe, arms folded, glaring at two uniformed officers while Mason stood by a beat-up sedan, loading black trash bags into the trunk. The house looked tired. Overgrown hedges, peeling paint near the garage, the sagging rain gutter still unrepaired from last year's storm. I'd offered to fix it. She told me, "We're managing fine." Apparently, fine meant duct tape and denial. By noon, a second photo came in, the porch now empty, the for sale sign I'd authorized planted in the yard like a flag marking the start of something new. But the aftermath wasn't quiet. Later that evening, I got another knock on my door, and this time, I wasn't surprised. It was her. My mother stood in the hallway, wrapped in a thick gray coat, holding a manila envelope. She didn't look angry. She looked old, smaller, like she'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. She didn't ask to come in. She just handed me the envelope and said, I wrote everything down. I didn't say a word, just nodded. She lingered. Mason's living with friends. I'm figuring things out. More silence. I didn't mean to hurt you, she added, as if that could sweep away decades in a single breath. You did, I said. I know. Then she turned and walked away. I didn't open the envelope that night. I left it on the kitchen table while I made dinner, watched a show, brushed my cat. It wasn't until nearly midnight, when I was standing by the window with a mug of tea, that I finally picked it up. Inside was a letter, 8 pages, typed, double-spaced, full of memories, mostly hers. Childhood stories, things I'd forgotten, things I wish I had. She talked about Dad leaving, about how she'd buried her fear under pride, and how when I started helping financially, she let herself slip, convinced that if I could carry the weight, then I should. That being the reliable one meant being the responsible one, and being the responsible one meant being the invisible one. She didn't ask me to forgive her. She just explained. And then, at the very end, one sentence in bold. I spent so long asking what you could give me. I never asked what it cost you. I didn't cry. Not then. But something cracked. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. No calls. No knocks. Just the slow hum of moving on. Until Saturday morning. I was making pancakes when my phone rang. It was Aunt Deb. I smiled, expecting another peace offering. Maybe banana bread this time. But her voice was sharp. Jordan, she said quickly, you need to come to the church. Now. I froze. What? What? Mason. Your mom. They're here. And Mason just told the entire room you stole the house from them. My stomach sank. I grabbed my keys. By the time I pulled into the church parking lot, I could already hear the raised voices through the open double doors. A community fundraiser, something for the youth center, apparently, had drawn a decent crowd. And right in the middle of it, like a bad soap opera, stood Mason, gesturing wildly with a paper in hand. She forced our mom out, he said to no one and everyone. My brother thinks he's better than us just because he got lucky in a will. Lucky. That word hit me harder than expected, because luck had nothing to do with it. I hadn't inherited fortune, I inherited obligation. I hadn't been given a mansion, I'd been handed a collapsing family and asked to hold it together. I stepped through the doorway, every eye turning toward me. Mason saw me and lit up like he'd been waiting. There he is, the golden boy, come to defend your kingdom. I stayed calm, walked slowly, looked around the room. Then I said, sure, let's talk about luck. And what I said next, well, that's when everything really came undone. I stood at the front of that little community room with everyone staring at me like I was the villain who just stepped onto the stage of a Sunday sermon. The folding chairs, the lemonade table, the sleepy piano music still echoing faintly from the corner. It all felt surreal. Like I'd been invited to my own trial and hadn't even known it. Mason was still holding that paper, a blurry printout of some bank statement I'd long since closed. He looked smug, like he'd just laid out undeniable proof that I was the world's worst human. You came to evict your own mother, he snapped. On your birthday, no less. Real classy, Jordan. I took a deep breath and turned to face the room. Some faces I recognized. A few old neighbors, some people from Mom's book club, even Mr. Kindle from across the street, frowning with his arms crossed. I didn't yell. I didn't defend myself in a tantrum. I just told the truth. Okay, I said quietly, letting the silence settle before continuing. Let's talk about what actually happened. And then I laid it out, piece by piece. No anger, no drama, just the truth, spoken plainly. I've paid the mortgage on that house for the last 5 years, I said. It was left to me in my grandfather's will. My mother was allowed to live there rent-free on the condition that she maintained it and paid property taxes. She didn't. I covered those too. When my brother moved in, I didn't charge rent. I didn't ask for anything. I just asked for respect. Someone in the back whispered something. I kept going. When her car broke down, I gave her mine. The spare, yes, but still mine. In my name. She never transferred the title. Never paid me back. I paid for the flowers at her birthday. Covered Mason's bail once when I stopped myself. Let's not go there. That got a few eyebrows to raise. Mason paled. I set up a joint account so my mom could pay her bills while she waited on delayed benefits. I forgot to remove her when she got back on her feet. That's on me. But I didn't expect her and Mason to use that money, my money, for a vacation to Maui they never even mentioned to me. I only found out when I saw the transaction. People were shifting in their seats now. Murmurs started. I glanced at my Aunt Deb, who stood near the corner, eyes wide, one hand over her chest. I knew she'd already known some of this, but not all. Mason tried to interrupt. You're twisting it. But I held up a hand and continued. On my birthday, I said slowly, I got a voicemail from my mother. She said, and I quote, don't expect a call. We're busy celebrating real family. You could have heard a pin drop. She didn't forget to call. She chose not to. So yeah, I closed the account. I sold the car. I issued a formal eviction notice for a house that legally belongs to me. Because I finally understood something. I turned toward Mason. Love doesn't mean letting people drain you dry. It doesn't mean being the quiet one who pays for everyone else's mistakes just so they'll tolerate your presence. Love means boundaries. And if being the bad guy is the only way to make those boundaries stick, then fine. I'll be the villain. For a long time, no one said anything. Then, a voice, Mr. Kindle, low and tired. Good for you, son. Another voice followed. Should have cut them off years ago. Even a few claps. Nothing loud. Nothing dramatic. Just small affirmations from people who'd apparently been watching from the sidelines longer than I realized. Mason stormed out a moment later, muttering curses under his breath. A few people followed. Most stayed. My mom didn't come to the fundraiser at all. I found out later she'd been waiting outside in the car. I think, deep down, She knew exactly what was coming, and she didn't have the energy to face it. Aunt Deb met me outside afterward and pulled me into a hug that lasted longer than it probably should have. "You okay?" she asked. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I think I will be." In the weeks that followed, things got quieter. Mason stopped trying to contact me after his smear campaign fizzled out. Turns out when your reputation is built entirely on charm and manipulation, it doesn't hold up too well under facts. His friends, the ones he bragged about living with, kicked him out after a week. I heard through the grapevine he was couch hopping and trying to start a podcast. Classic Mason. As for Mom, she tried reaching out again. This time, without the usual guilt. Just quiet, hesitant texts like, "Thinking of you. Hope you're doing okay. I'm sorry. I didn't block her. But I didn't respond either. Not at first. I needed space. And in that space, something unexpected happened. I got better. The knot in my chest that had been there since I was 17 started to loosen. I stopped waking up dreading my notifications. I redecorated my apartment, got rid of the beige furniture I'd always chosen to blend in, bought a bright yellow couch, hung up art I actually liked, started cooking again, joined a local hiking group, met people who didn't expect anything from me except presents. Eventually, I did write her back. Just one message. "I forgive you, but I'm not ready to be close. Maybe someday." Her reply? "That's fair. I'll wait." And that was that. The house was cleaned out, repainted, and listed. It sold to a young couple with a toddler and a rescue dog. I met them once during the walkthrough and gave them my number in case they had questions about the neighborhood. They invited me to the housewarming party. I politely declined. I didn't need to go back. I'd spent so long trying to be part of a family that only valued what I gave them. I forgot that I didn't have to earn love to deserve it. Now, I have my peace. I have my boundaries. And for the first time in my life, I have a future that's mine. So no, I didn't burn the bridge. I just lit a path away from it. And honestly, it's warm over here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.